Morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time po you're watching right now. Hi, we're the Group 6 of Cyber 1 in the subject Software and Hardware Security. We are Team Bam, Baskin, Hans, Angge, and Mika, present virtually to showcase our final requirement entitled Remsor Drugstore Express Exploitation. So, let's get started. So, next slide po. So in this research, we utilize a recent website project in the subject dynamic web application and tools as the platform for exploiting various vulnerabilities. So the vulnerabilities are SQL injection attack through the login form, information disclosure through directory listing, and file upload vulnerability. So these vulnerabilities are the common loopholes that adversaries goes into. Kaya this study will be beneficial for cybersecurity students and web development students and professionals to use this as a reference for the mitigations used for these vulnerabilities are now a must configuration to prevent web breaches and make one's website safe and secure. So next slide po. So ito yung agenda for today's video. So introduction, description of the vulnerability, RL, mitigation strategies, innovation and depth, technical explanation, real-world application and impact, and its conclusion. So next.
In today's digital world, web applications have become essential to modern society. They serve various purposes such as facilitating social interactions and streamlining business operations. However, the widespread use of these platforms has led to an increase in sophisticated cyber attacks aimed at exploiting vulnerabilities in web applications. There has been a rise in demand for web developers who can produce a user-friendly web platforms. However, the risk of compromised sensitive user data is also rising due to the increased emphasis on creating visually appealing web applications. Unfortunately, this exposes several vulnerabilities, with attackers primarily targeting web applications. Researchers have identified vulnerabilities in different web applications, particularly where SQL injectable login forms, information disclosure vulnerabilities, and file upload vulnerabilities pose a risk to web application security. So, understanding these web application vulnerabilities is crucial. This knowledge empowers developers and security professionals to build and maintain secure applications, protecting user data throughout the application's life. Next slide, please.
So now we will move on to the description of each vulnerability. So first is SQL injection attack vulnerability. This is also known as SQL insertion attack. From the name itself, we will insert in the SQL query by altering the SQL statement to change the intended of the supposed query. So yung web applications kasi have two sides. Front, kung ano yung nakikita ng mga users, and back end, wherein nandun lahat ng vital codes for the website to run. So yung vulnerability is defined as the internal fault, which is the back end, by using the external fault, which is the front end. So specifically yung gagawin dito in this website, we will use the SQL map tool into the login page of the website, and makikita natin dito na yung email input of the login page mismo is exploitable, and from there we can also see other available databases such as Remsor DB, which is nandun lahat ng sensitive information ng website through using SQL map. So next is information disclosure vulnerability through directory listing. So this is defined as information leakage that usually occurs when it is intentionally or unintentionally reveals sensitive information to the end users in the website. So rito, we will manipulate the URL of the website, and since naka-default configuration directory listing, meaning naka-enable siya, and knowing walang index provided, we can exploit the vulnerability. So last is the file upload vulnerability. This is when an adversary uploads a file that has malicious intention that could be executed on the web server. If this is left unrestricted, like walang mga limited file type, limited file type, and yung size, an adversary could go and upload a reverse shell like yung gagawin namin, and we will access the web server's CLI. Ayun. So next slide po.
Mitigation strategies. SQL injection attack vulnerability. The effective defense against SQL injection attacks relies on robust input validation techniques, particularly parameterization using prepared statements. The application code must never directly incorporate user input. Developers should sanitize all user inputs, including those from login forms, to eliminate malicious code from like a single quotes. Moreover, it's advisable to disable the visibility of database errors on the production server. This prevents attackers from exploiting these errors to glean information about the data structure. Furthermore, there are 5 effective techniques to prevent an SQL injection attack. First, implement input validation and sanitation. Input validation involves verifying that the user input meets the predefined criteria such as format and range, while sanitation is performed by removing or encoding potentially harmful characters from the input. Second, use escaping for user input. This technique involves modifying the user inputs to neutralize special characters that could be used for a malicious SQL injection. Third, utilize parameterized statements. Another effective technique in mitigating the risk of SQL injection is through coding practices, especially the parameterized statements. This approach ensures that the user inputs are treated as data, thereby preventing the execution of a malicious code. Fourth, incorporate stored procedure. Stored procedure encapsulates the SQL code within the database. The risk of injection is minimized by defining the parameters procedure, as these procedures are executed without directly incorporating user inputs. Lastly, conduct continuous scanning and penetration testing. Regular security practices involve in audits and code reviews that entail examination of the application code base, like automated tools and manual inspection, aid in identifying and addressing the potential vulnerabilities, such as Acunetics, Vsecure, Remsor, and Aptranas. They provide comprehensive options. Next, the other vulnerability is information disclosure vulnerability directory listing. First, disabling the directory listing on Apache. On an Apache web server, user must create a AHT access file in the appropriate application directory in order to disable a directory listing. Next, they can either change the current lines in the httpd.conf file with the following or add the following lines to it. As you can see, as evident from the example code, individuals should remove the indexes and multi-views statement to safely disable the directory listing features on Apache web server. The third vulnerability, file upload vulnerability. User-generated file uploads play a vital role in a numerous commercial services application, messaging app, content managing systems, healthcare portals. The following are recommended precautions to protect against website file upload vulnerabilities. First, the whitelist method should be utilized to allow files with specific extension only, such as JPEG, PNG, PDF, and etc. This approach can mitigate the risk of associated with unusual or unknown extension. Second, users should verify the files downloaded from the internet, just as they would with a direct upload. This involves checking the file source, scanning it for malware, and ensuring it meets security standards. This practice helps prevent vulnerabilities caused by arbitrary file uploads. The third, limiting the user base to verified individuals and making it easier for approved users to upload files can reduce the likelihood of unauthorized or a random users uploading files to the website. Fourth, it is advisable for users to save files downloaded from the internet or upload themselves in a location inaccessible to the public. Lastly, using files obtained from the program is preferably to direct accessing the web server. Next slide, please. Innovation and depth. SQL injection, attack mitigation, the implementation of input validation and sanitation, escaping for user input, utilizing parameterized queries, and incorporating stored procedures are considered essential techniques. While not necessarily new, their effectiveness relies on how they are combined and applied within a multi-layered defense scheme. For instance, while parameterized queries can prevent SQL injection, their security can be augmented by combining them with stored procedures and input validation. In addition, various SQL injection tools, such as SQL Map. SQL Map plays a crucial role because it is widely used by security professionals and penetration testers. It is capable of detecting and exploiting SQL injections in the database and web application. Furthermore, by adhering to the least privilege and principle ensuring that database user only have access to resources they require, the risk of a successful injection attack can be significantly reduced. Second, the information disclosure vulnerability directory listing mitigation. While disabling directory listing is not a novel, its innovation lies in the emphasis for correctly configuring a web server setting and maximizing the effectiveness of index files by explicitly controlling directory contents and preventing directory listing. The risk of information disclosure can be significantly reduced. Lastly, file upload vulnerability mitigation. Implementing file type validation, setting a strict permission for uploaded files, renaming files upon upload, storing uploaded files outside the web root directory, and scanning uploaded files for malware and crucial techniques. Although commonly employed, their effectiveness relies on true implementation. For instance, keeping uploaded data outside of the root directory prevents the direct access by attackers, and imposing stringent permission on uploaded files ensures that the only unauthorized users can access them. The innovative aspects of file upload security lies in its comprehensive strategies, which addresses multiple attacks vectors and offers a robust defense against a file upload vulnerabilities. Next slide, please.
So for our technical explanation, I'll be showcasing the different vulnerabilities and demonstrating the methodologies that I used to expose and exploit these vulnerabilities. First off, we have our website URL, which is remsor.shop.local.com. To expose its IP, first we will use, let's use traceroute. Let's add the www. There we go, we have the IP. So we'll just nmap to scan the IP. Okay, while this is running, we now know that there's a port 80 and port 22. Port 80 meaning we have a web server, so let us open the web server. So as you can see, this is the front page, the landing page of the website. Once you open this up, you're greeted with the login page, and as we've discussed previously in our presentation, there is an SQL injection attack present in this login page. So to demonstrate this SQL injection, I used SQL map. But first, we need to intercept the post request of this login form. To do this, we will be using burp suite. But first, let us configure our Firefox so that it will allow burp suite to capture the packets. Let's run burp suite. While this is running, I will be explaining how will we intercept the post request from the login form? So as you can see here in the email, you cannot do basic SQL injections as it is restricted to take inputs as email only. If you can see here, it's type email. So to attempt this, we can do is it doesn't submit the post request because it's type email and this is not an email. So if you remove this type here, we will be getting an SQL error right here. So this right here is the vulnerability that we will be leveraging on. So let's turn on our burp sheet and replay the attack. So we can put anything here. Putting here is an apostrophe and a semicolon, which are typical for an SQL query. The colon is to close the variable and the semicolon is to close the query. So it will disregard the password part. So if I will show you here, this is an example of an SQL query. So the values will be put in here. So if we close this, it will generally break the SQL query. So once we remove the type again, make sure that burp sheet is on and continue. We will be getting this post request. And what we'll do is we'll save this file to our Kali directory. We'll be using SQL map, the post request, and then double slash dbs, and then let's let it run. BMS. I forgot. You need to add -r first before the post request. Then --dbs. So for demonstration purposes, we have already run this before. Normally this will take a while as it will use a time-based SQLi attack. So basically that means it will be inserting crafted SQL queries that will make the server sleep for as in here 5 seconds. So once the server sleeps for 5 seconds, it means it's returning true. So it will try to crack the database information letter by letter. So here we have the database information. We have 6 available databases, and what we're interested in is the Remsor database. So if we specify here the database Remsor DB, and then proceed to dump information from this, or rather to be more specific, let's take the tables. We have 5 tables available inside the Remsor DB. Again, for demonstration purposes, this was already run before. That's why it's faster. And as an attacker, I will be first interested in the user forms, since I want to gain access, unauthorized access to the website. Once we know the table that we're attacking, we'll be specifying the table, and we'll be trying to know what columns are in the table. So normally user forms will contain an email, the name, the password, and sometimes this information, but usually it's only the name, password, and the email. So let's dump this table using the --dump. So as you can see right here, again, for demonstration purposes, this is faster than normal. We obtained information about the users. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 users here, and we're interested here in the Remsor admin. So an admin account is already presented to us. So as we found out earlier that there is a user ID, part ID, and a password. So that's why we are seeing 2 hashes here. So we are interested in the first hash, which is the password. To crack hashes, I will be using Drugstore. But first, let's turn off burp sheet as we don't need it anymore. So let's go to Drugstore. So Drugstore is a database full of hashes that has been cracked before using the word list. So we'll just try to find and compare this hash to one of the hashes in their database. So we found the match for our hash, and the result is 12345. So if we attempt to use these credentials using the email remsor@remsor.com in this login page and use the password 12345, we'll be able to enter the website as administrator, as you can see here. So for our next vulnerability, we will be avoiding this first, and we'll be focusing here on the URL. And looking at the subdirectory, we can see we entered shop project and then the PHP webpage. So if we remove the PHP webpage, we will be entering the project directory. So let's try that. So as you can see here, we could list all the files inside the project directory here. So we have all the web pages that are available to us in this directory. So we can even move back one more directory here and see the project. And then if we move one more directory, we'll be entering the landing page, which is the home page of this website. The reason for that is that this directory contains an index page, which is the home page, and this page does not have an index. That's why it's listing the directory. So by default, this is turned on in Apache 2, which is a security risk at some point. For example, here we have a file name password. So if you open it, you will see the contents, and in these contents you will find maybe a password. We don't know. So if we continue our attack here, moving on to our next vulnerability, which is the file upload vulnerability, we'll be entering a product name and a price. And then over here, we will be prompted to upload a product image. So normally you will upload the image for the product, but an attacker will attempt to upload something else. For example, we'll be uploading a reverse shell, PHP reverse shell. We'll try to display the contents of the reverse shell. We will see this reverse shell was taken from remsor.com. So we have inputted our host machine IP and the port that we'll be listening on. So let's attempt to upload that. So as you can see here, we have successfully uploaded the reverse shell. And using the previous vulnerability, we can go to the uploaded files and we'll find our file here named image.php. So let's set up our NetApp listener to listen for the reverse shell. Now as you open this our reverse shell PHP, as you can see, we are now loading, which means we have connected here to our reverse shell. As you can see, we are in www data. Now to further compromise this machine, we will be scanning for users. To do this, we will be concatenating the password file. As you can see here, we have 3 users, Mika and Hans. And if you can remember earlier, we have an SSH open, so we will try to brute force that using the information or credentials that we have gained from this attack. So first, here I've prepared word lists for our users. This is basically Mika and Hans, CYB131 and the root. And then the password, if you can remember earlier, is the Ironman that we took from our vulnerability here, directory listing vulnerability. So we'll just hide for the brute forcing. Specify SSH and then the IP of the target machine. So this will run and try to brute force. And here we have a match for the password, which is Hans, and his password is I am Ironman. So let's attempt to use this credential. It's prompted us for a password. We'll enter Hans's password. Just like that, we have a user account inside the machine. This user has root access to the machine. So now we've compromised the whole machine having root access, meaning we own the machine and we have full control. That is all for our technical explanation.
So this part of the study examines yung mga tatlong above mentioned na SQL injection login forms, information disclosure through directory listing, and file upload vulnerabilities. So this aims to shed light on how these vulnerabilities can be exploited by malicious actors to cause significant disruption in real-world situations. First, SQL injection login forms, we have a scenario. A clothing retailer's website has a login form with a vulnerable SQL query. An attacker discovers this and crafts a malicious username that exploits the vulnerability. So meron po siyang tatlong impact, may tatlong applicable na impacts dito. First, we have the account takeover. So the attackers exploit weaknesses to gain unauthorized access to user accounts. This allows them to steal data, manipulate information, and potentially harm the website's reputation. Second, we have the data breach. Malicious actors inject harmful code to steal sensitive user information like usernames, password, and credit card details. This data can be sold on black market or used for identity theft. Third, we have the denial of service attack. So the attackers overload the server with requests, causing it to crash or become unavailable to legitimate users. This can lead to lost sales and reputational damage on the website. Next, we have for the information disclosure vulnerabilities. For our scenario, we have an e-commerce website accidentally leaves directory listing enabled on its server. This allows anyone to browse a list of all directories on the website, including potentially sensitive ones like the admin panel or internal data. So merong dalawang impact. First, we have the exposed sensitive information. Attackers can leverage the directory listing to discover hidden files or folders that are not publicly accessible. So this might contain sensitive information like configuration files. These files store critical settings and credentials, expose details like usernames, password, or access keys to grant attackers control of the website or access to its data. Second, we have the backups. Backup directories might contain valuable information like customer details or website codes. So the attackers can steal this data for malicious purposes or launch further attacks. Next, we have the source code. The source code might be exposed in rare cases. Attackers can analyze it for vulnerabilities to compromise the website or steal data. Second, we have this increased attack surface. So the directory listing gives attackers a blueprint of the website structure. They can use this information to identify potential weaknesses and focus their efforts on exploiting those vulnerabilities. This broadens the attack surface, making it easier for attackers to find a way in. Last, for the file upload vulnerabilities, we have a scenario, which is a photo sharing website that allows users to upload profile pictures. However, the website needs proper validation checks on uploaded files. So there are 3 impacts applicable for this one. We have the malware distribution. The attacker can upload malicious files distinguished as legitimate content. For example, yung image. Then, tapos pag dinownload ko na, once downloaded na, yung mga files can steal their users' data, hijack their computer, or spread malware further. Next, we have the website defacement. So the attackers can exploit file upload to modify the website's content. This could involve displaying malicious message or redirecting users to phishing attack. So phishing sites, damaging the website's reputation and users' trust. Lastly, we have the server takeover. In severe case, attackers can upload a web shell, granting them remote access to the server. This allows them to steal data, install additional malware, or launch further attacks, potentially causing significant damage. Next slide, please.
So, in hindsight, as these vulnerabilities are one of the common loopholes that adversaries dive into, it is of utmost importance for cybersecurity and web development students and professionals as well to be knowledgeable on how to prevent and mitigate these vulnerabilities to ensure that their websites will be free from harm. This learning will be one of the skills needed as they step into the technological reality of the working world in today's time. So, next slide po. So, these are the following references that were used, and next slide. So that is all for today's video. Once again, we are the Group 6 of Cybersecurity 1 Team BAM. Have a wonderful day ahead and stay safe. Thank you for listening.